Hello, my name is Matt Bird, and I want to welcome you to the PublishU podcast, where we explore the real life stories of authors from around the world. Today, I'm talking to John Cavanagh from Liverpool in the United Kingdom, who's written a book called Formed at God's Command. John, welcome.
Thank you, Matt. Nice to see you.
Yes, indeed. So, John, tell us about your career. Give us a sense of what you've achieved so far and what you've done.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, I'm a northerner. Unlike you, I know you're a Londoner. Well, up here, we have places to tie our huskies and things like that. But I I was educated in Salford and Liverpool.
Yeah,
Uh, got a degree in maths at Liverpool, and then did 11 years in the chemical industry.
yeah.
Um, and during that period, I got a postgraduate degree in another mathematical subject.
Oh gosh, you're quite a mathematician then.
Well, I used to be, I suppose. Yeah. But then after 11 years, I then started to work for the church as an evangelist and then a church leader and a networker. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I've been doing that for quite a while. And now everything I did, it's in the past because I'm now retired, I suppose you would say. But I'm not really retired. I'm still going on.
yeah, absolutely. No, I get that. And you actually live in a place called Runcorn near Liverpool, but everybody knows where Liverpool is.
Yeah.
What's Runcorn like, John?
Well, Runcorn's a new town, or was a new town in the 60s, about 60,000 people. Very full of trees, lots of development has gone on, and it's very green, and I think it's a great place to live.
Yeah, absolutely. So has retirement for you meant getting out the golf clubs and hitting balls every day, or have you chosen to do something else?
Yes, I gave up golf 5 years ago because of health reasons. Um, Retirement for me means working on things for the Lord, going to church, getting involved in the church life, um, writing books, writing a book, should I say.
Yeah, absolutely. Formed at God's command. So,
Right. Yeah.
how long did it take you to write your book, John?
Well, the history of it is that I was interested in the whole issue of faith and science, and I did a series of 12 one-hour talks on Zoom at the church on apologetics.
Yeah.
And out of that, a few people said, you need to put the notes down in writing. So probably it then took me about a year to do that
Yeah.
after I'd
Wow.
finished done the talks. Yeah.
But it started off from 12 talks you wrote.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that was my first book as well, actually. I remember telling a friend about a series of talks I was giving at a conference, and he said to me, Matt, he said, that's a book.
Yeah,
Got a
yeah,
book in you.
yeah. That's exactly that. That gets it in one. That's exactly how I came to write this book. Yeah,
Yeah. But it's
it,
actually a very different discipline, isn't it? Speaking and writing. It's not
oh,
the same thing.
absolutely right. And when I started along with PublishU, I very quickly realised that in preaching, I tend to use longer sentences, and I had to really struggle to cut down the sentences from 300 words to 30 words or whatever.
Yeah, I sometimes say to authors and joke with them, sorry, I couldn't read your book because I got breathless at the first sentence.
Yeah, yeah,
Because one of the common mistakes that authors make is they write very long sentences.
yeah. Well,
Um,
you can count me in on that. Yeah, I've done
we
it.
all make the mistakes. But
And it was really helpful. One of the first things that when I started with PublishU, one of the first things was the sort of manuscript review and suggestions and so on. And I'd used a desktop publisher to write everything, so it was all in format form. So I then had to deformat it, put it into Word format, and that was a big help
yeah.
in realizing. but still, my book is somewhat conversational in its content and
Yeah,
style.
yeah, absolutely. And so, people listening to this are thinking, gosh, do I have to be really super smart to read and understand John's book? Give us a little sense, for people listening. What does your book feel like when you read it?
Well, one of the subtitles is a guide for non-Christians. Sorry, I beg your pardon. A guide for non-scientists.
Okay.
I've tried to write it in terms which are not specifically scientific, where I've used terms like, for example, prime numbers. I've defined what I mean. I've said what I mean by a prime number.
Yeah.
So, and I tend to use titles that are a bit catchy, I suppose, chapter titles. Surprise, surprise, Goldilocks effect, the jumping off cliffs, if it quacks like a duck. These are sort of the titles that give
Yeah.
it some sort of.
Yeah, you did a great job, John. You did a great job. So what's the core message of your book, John?
The core message is that science in the latter half of the 20th century and beginning of the 21st century, making discoveries that are affirming the need for a creator. That's the core message.
Wow. So
Um,
actually, as we progress and growing our understanding, um, this new understanding shows increasingly that actually having a faith is the only thing that really makes complete sense of science.
I think you should have written my book. That gets
No,
exactly right.
I've read bits of your book, but maybe that's what's helped me.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. I think there's a common misunderstanding or a common misapprehension in our communities today, on the media and so on. When they say scientists have said, it's taken as a holy writ, it's taken as truth. And when you say the church says, it's taken as, or faith says, it's taken as an opinion. So it's so when science, and another common misunderstanding is that science has said that God is dead. Well, I try to address those issues in my book.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, fascinating. So, if anybody has an interest in the scientific, rational kind of thinking behind faith, in front of faith, around faith, in faith, then your book is a book to read.
Indeed, yeah. And I finish it off by talking about the the reliability of the scriptures of the Bible.
Yeah, yeah, great, wonderful. You, what is your hope for what your book achieves, John? What would be your dream?
Hmm. My dream would be for it to be taken up by influencers, groups of people who are working together in a particular area, for example, such as Bible colleges and other organizations like that.
Yeah, 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 very good.
Mm.
And a parting, as we draw this conversation to a close, perhaps there's two questions I want to ask you actually.
Okay.
What's been your experience of publishing your book, with us? I'm hoping you say it's positive, but you may not. I'd love to know.
Yeah, okay. Very positive, really. What I really like is the sequential steps that it leads you through. Um, and and it's been very helpful to know where I'm at in the publishing process as each stage has gone by.
Yeah,
Very helpful indeed. Yeah.
yeah, great. And it all happens in 100 days. So
Yeah.
there we go. It's keeping you up to date.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And is there something final you'd love to, a final thought you'd love to leave with people that are listening to this broadcast, John?
Yeah. I would say don't be afraid of anything that science discovers now or in the future, because in the end, history has shown us that it all points towards God,
Wow.
and that science and God, there's no warfare between real science and God, but in fact we're partners.
Oh, I love that. There's no warfare between science and God. Yeah, you heard it here. Really, really powerful, John. Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening to the PublishU podcast featuring the real life stories of authors from around the world. If you are interested in writing a book like John, then please do visit PublishU.com, www.publish.com. And if you enjoyed this broadcast, please make sure you subscribe for more. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye for now.